Peace, family. S. Marshall Ill, Islam, peace and love, Hotep, assalamu alaikum, greetings, shalom. This is the Wednesday Divine Talks. I had one brother who was talking, and shouts out to brother Frazier Bay, and mentioned something about life skills or life lessons. Could be a theme as well for my talks. That's something I'm pondering on. But peace, family, as you can see in my title, hopefully, what is the Yakub story? That is what I want to be talking about today. And so I first want to give praise to the great God. I want to give honor to all prophets, honors to all nations, honors to all creeds. And I invite the angelic host, the great essence of the universe, Mother Universe, to sit down with us and help speak to us that these mysteries or these questions that we may have about ourselves and about nature and about our lives, that in some way something will be revealed to us today that can connect those dots for us so we can go a little bit further, have a little more purpose and have a little more direction and be in that state of mind of heaven. And so really this topic kind of came about. I was watching a show, a YouTube show, Satnetta 101 Black News, I believe was. I don't know which channel, but him, Brother Polite was on there, and another brother from the Nation of Islam was supposed to come on. And I think there was a lot of discussion about the Yakub story. And I know a lot of folks really don't know what the story is, let alone to start debating about it. And so what I wanted to do today is just come from Elijah Muhammad's own words and writings, from the message to the black man, which is this great book, and just kind of read or shed some light about the Yakub story. What is the Yakub story? Indeed, I do want to put a disclaimer. I am not with the Nation of Islam. I'm not a member of the Nation of Islam. Certainly, I support many of their efforts to uplift our people. But this is just a academic, if you would, question for us to all to just ponder and think upon and take the information in whatever way you would like to further research it. So it's more so let's see what Elijah Muhammad, out of his own book, right? What did he say about the Yakub story? From my understanding, I could be wrong and somebody could put in the comments, but he is the only one I know that really brought such a story brought this story. Now, it might be many elements of the story or the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about Yakub that are in other books or that are in other said writings or so forth. I believe Elijah Muhammad, not believe, I know in his book, he also make references of his story in parallel to certain scriptures in the Bible, the Christian Bible, and the Holy Quran of Mecca. So obvious, according to Elijah Muhammad, that what was revealed to him about the Yakub story, was a story that is not only that was only given to him or only referenced to him. So let's just see what it is. Again, we're just going to get right in. This is a message to the black man in America. And I'm going to start at page 110. And I'm going to kind of read from there, and I may skip around a little bit due to the length of it. And this, if you have that book or you have reference to it, I don't know if it's on PDF, but it's under the chapter Devil, the making of Devil, the making of Devil. And pretty much the Yakub story is centered around all of that. Now, on page 110, these are Elijah Muhammad's words. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's word, who is the founder of the Nation of Islam. Wallace D. Muhammad, Farad Muhammad, or something like that. I'm probably messing that up, but he taught from the recorded history that he taught Elijah Muhammad. And so maybe Wallace Farad Muhammad is actually the founder. I'm not sure about that part, but however, y'all can correct me. But it first reads, it says, according to the word of Allah to me. This is Elijah Muhammad speaking. He's talking about the Yakub story. So here is one thing we need to establish is that the Yakub story, as Elijah Muhammad have written about it, he is saying that he got this information divinely inspired from Allah to him. From Allah to him. So it's not like he found a book or he archaeological research, read it on walls or so forth. He's saying that this information that about Yakub is coming from Allah straight to him. So that's one point we need to understand when you hear a debate about the Yakub story, understanding that it is you are initially debating over what a man said he received directly from God. All right. So it said, according to the word of Allah to me, Mr. Yakub, that's Y-A-K-U-B, was seen by the 23 scientists of the black nation over 15,000 years ago. They predicted that in the year 8,400, that was in our calendar year before the world of white race, that's in parentheses, or quotations, not quotations, parentheses maybe. This man, Yakub, will be born 20 miles from the present holy city, Mecca, Arabia. And that at the time of his birth, the satisfaction and dissatisfaction of the people would be 70% satisfied, 30% dissatisfied. And when this man is born, he will change civilization, meaning the world, and produce a new race of people who will rule the original black nation for 6,000 years, from the 9,000 year to the 15,000 year. So we're going to jump down. So this is Mr. Yakub, a scientist, 23 scientists of the black nation. I suppose that's probably maybe some like a secret chamber, fraternal order or something like that. They predicted Mr. Yakub coming along. And this person would come along to create a new race. Okay? I'm going to jump down here. It said down a little farther. Allah taught me that the present percentage of dissatisfaction is 98%, near 100%. And when the present ruling powers, with the present ruling powers, this 100% dissatisfaction will bring about a 100% change. Yakub did not bring about a 100% change, but near 90%. Allah said, when Yakub was 6 years old one day, he was sitting down playing with two pieces of steel. Let me get my glasses. Hold on for a minute, family. All right. Need to get my glasses here. Okay. So, where we were. All right. Yakub, okay. He was sitting down playing with two pieces of steel. He noticed the magnetic power in the steel attracting the other. He looked up at his uncle and said, Uncle, when I get to be an old man, I'm going to make a people who shall rule you. The uncle said, what will you make? Something to make mischief and cause bloodshed in the land? Yakub said, nevertheless, Uncle, I know that which you do not know. And said, and it was at that moment the boy Yakub first came into the knowledge of just who he was, born to make trouble, break peace, kill and destroy his own people with a made enemy to the black nation. So Yakub was an Asiatic, and his mission was to destroy his own people. His mission was to destroy his own people. Wow. That kind of sounds familiar. Okay, we're going to jump a little bit, and let's see. No, we're going to keep going. Let me go. Keep going. He learned his future from playing with steel. It is steel and more steel that his made race, the white race, are still playing with. Steel has become the most useful of all metal for the people. What he really saw in playing with the two pieces of steel was the magnetic power of attraction. The one attracting and drawing the other under its power. In this, he saw an unlike human being made to attract others, who could, with the knowledge of tricks and lies, rule the original black man until that nation could produce one greater and capable of overcoming and making manifest his race of tricks and lies with a nation of truth. So these are the words of Elijah Muhammad, not as Marshall, okay? Let's get an understanding, right, of the Yakub story. So it goes on to say, Yakub was the founder of unlike attracts and like repels. Though Mr. Yakub was a member of the black nation, he began school at the age of 4. He had an unusual sized head. When he had grown up, the others referred to him as the big head scientist. So that's where you get sometimes, if you probably even Google Yakub or the Yakub story, you often may find a picture of, like a cartoon picture of a big-headed Asiatic brother, and or the term big head scientist. And so these Elijah Muhammad said he was referred to as the big head scientist, right? And you know how sometimes what we call big headed people, like people that think they all that, and they're above everybody, and it's all about them. So it may be some play with that going on too. Let's continue to read. It said, at the age of 18, he had finished all of the colleges and universities of his nation. And when seen preaching on the streets of Mecca, making converts, he made such impressions on the people that many began following him. He learned from studying the germ of the black man under the microscope that there were two people in him, and that one was black, the other brown. He said if he could successfully separate the one from the other, he could graft the brown germ into its last stage, which would be white. With his wisdom, he could make the white, which he discovered was the weaker of the black germ, which would be unlike. And let me go back. With his wisdom, he could make the white, which he discovered was the weaker of the black germ, rule the black nation for a time. This new ideal put him to work finding the necessary converts to begin grafting his new race of people. He began by teaching Islam with promises of luxury to those who would believe and follow him. So in some essence, now these are the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I'm reading out of Message to the Black Man in America. And so we, again, are getting the understanding, what is the Yakub story? As Mr. Yakub continued to preach for converts, he told his people that he would make the others work for them. And it says here, this promise came to pass. Okay. Naturally, there are always some people around who would like to have others do their work. Those are the ones who fell for Mr. Yakub's teaching 100%. Oh, man. Wow. Let's continue to go on. It says, as he made converts in and around the holy city of Mecca, prosecution set in. The authorities became afraid of such powerful teachings with promises of luxury and making slaves of others. As they began to make arrests of those who believed in the teachings, the officers would go back and find, to their surprise, others still teaching and believing it. So we had to get, that sound like the prosperity messages, like we have in the churches. I don't know if they're still doing the prosperity message, but kind of sounds similar there. The promises of luxury and so forth, if you follow whatever teaching. Okay, so finally they arrest Mr. Yakub, but it only increased the teachings. They kept prosecuting and arresting Yakub's followers until they filled all the jails. I got an interesting question here about the jails. I don't know. Did they have jails back in 8,400? Just an interesting question, And again, Elijah Muhammad, though, says that this is not the calendar of the, like the European calendar, but I guess the original man's Asiatic calendar, whatever that may be. But they put him in jail. The officers finally reported to the king that there was no room to put a prisoner in if arrested. All the jails are filled. And when we go out into the streets, we find them teaching. What shall we do with them? The king questioned the officers on just what the teachings were and of the name of the leader. The officers gave the king the answers to everything. The king said, now it's interesting that we're dealing with titles of king, which is, I would say, kind of a European title. So I'll be interested to hear what, somebody maybe of the nation, because that kind of sets a time frame of things, but we'll move on. This is not the name of that man. Okay, the king said, this is not the name of that man. On entering the prison, the king was shown Yakub's cell. Assalamu alaikum, the king said. So you are Mr. Yakub? He said, yes, I am. The king said, Yakub, I have come to see if we could work out some agreement that will bring about an end to this trouble. What would you suggest? So here's even an element, a principle in here, that the people that Yakub's following was so great and so nice, the people that, arresting and throwing people in jail, that wasn't even a solution. That wasn't even a solution because, if the people are behind it, there's no jail, there's no cells that's big enough to put everybody in prison. That it broke down the king, that it forced the king to come and make a deal. That show you the power of the people. That's just my side note. Y'all know I gotta do a side note sometimes. But anyway, all right. So Mr. Yakub told the king, if you give me and my followers everything to start civilization as you have, and furnish us with money and other necessities of life for 20 years, I would take my followers and we would go from you. The king was pleased with this suggestion or conditions made by Yakub and agreed to take care of them for 20 years until Yakub's followers were able to go for themselves. After learning who Mr. Yakub was, they all were afraid of him and were glad to make almost any agreement with him of his followers. Oh, man. Forgive me, y'all. I'm the cameraman and the host. All right. After learning who Yakub was, okay, I read that. The history or the future of Mr. Yakub and his people was in the nation's book by the writers of our history, 8,400 years before his birth. So the government began to make preparations for the exiling of Mr. Yakub and his followers. So it's kind of just going there and just saying that they already knew this was coming and they had already prepared and had some land. And it goes on and saying how they round them up a number of about 60,000 people. That's including Mr. Yakub. And they went over to an island. In the Bible terms, it's called Patmos. But let's see, it says the ship sailed out to an island in the Aegean Sea called Pelan, Pelan. And he's saying that he makes a reference in the Bible as Patmos, Patmos. Let's go down. So they kind of go over there, and Yakub began to do these experiments to make a new race. And let's see if we can jump to how he did that. Let's see. When he arrived at the island, Mr. Yakub said to them, "See how they have cast us out now. Now, if you will choose me to be your king, I will teach you how to go back and rule them all." Let's see. Give me, y'all. These headphones, something else. Okay? We talk about the Yakub story according to Elijah Muhammad. What did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say? Okay. And of course, they had already chosen Yakub to be their king at that very start. So Yakub chose doctors, ministers, nurse, and a cremator for his top laborers. He called these laborers together and told them his plan for making a new people who would rule for 6,000 years. He called the doctor first and said, "Doctor, let all the people come to you who want to marry. And if they come to you, two real black ones, take a needle and get a little of their blood and go into your room and pretend to be examining it to see whether their blood would mix. Then come and tell them that they will each have to find another mate because their blood do not mix." It was the aim of Yakub to get rid of the black, and he did. I don't know. Some of you may know. I know in Florida, well, in Georgia, I know at one time. I don't know if it still is that one of the prerequisites before you get married or have a marriage license is that you have to get a blood test. And from what I'm told, the blood test really is to see, if your blood is compatible to each other, so that there's no possibility of ancestral acts or some type of genetic mishap that may come about through your children. And so Elijah Muhammad is somewhat touching on that practice and principle here. I'm sure that practice wasn't only in Georgia that I related to. It would be interesting to see how many states are still doing that. Okay, then it says here, where I'm at. Then come and tell them, we read about that, the blood test. Give them a certificate to take to the minister, warning the minister against marrying a couple because their blood does not mix. When there comes to you two brown ones, take a pretended blood test of them, but give them a certificate saying that they are eligible to marry. Mr. Yakub charged to his laborers was very strict. Death if one disobeyed. They didn't know that Yakub had in mind until they were given their labor to do. They're saying that they didn't know what Yakub was up to until they were given their labor to do what they had to do. He made his laborers. He made his laborers from the chief to the least liars. He made a nation of liars. The doctor lied about the blood of the two black people who wanted to marry, and it did not mix. The brown and black could not be married, brown only. The doctors of today hold the same position over the people. So we're going on the making of how Yakub is making this new race. We're going to jump a little bit. I'm jumping over the part where Yakub is saying to the nurse when they have children in this grafting period, when they have children, when the mother birth, if the child is a black baby, or black skin complexion, to put a needle in the head of that child, basically abort the child, kill the child, and tell the mother that the child was born dead, and that the baby is an angel baby, and so that was to knock off the supposedly the dominant black gene, and encourage the brown genes, right? So I'm gonna skip it. It said, Mr. Yakub warned the laborers, from the doctor down to the cremator, that if any one of them failed to carry out his orders, off go their heads. When there was a birth of a brown baby, the nurse would come and make much ado over it, and would tell the mother that she had given birth to a holy child, and that she would nurse it for the next 6 weeks, for her child was going to be a great man. And this is when it was a boy baby. After the first 200 years, Mr. Yakub had done away with the black babies, and all were brown. After 200 years, he had all yellow or red, which was 400 years after being on Pelan. Another 200 years, which brings us to the 600th year, Mr. Yakub and all the pale white race of people, Mr. Yakub had an all pale white race of people on this island. So after 600 years, he had an all white pale race on this island of Patmos or Pelan. So this is pretty much the story of the Yakub story. And let me read here. It said, of course, Mr. Yakub lived. Forgive me, y'all. All right. Must mean it's almost time for me to end here. Y'all still with me? All right. Hopefully y'all learning something that y'all can study more in detail and ask more questions. When you hear somebody, when you hear a debate on this, you at least know the points and be able to follow along. Let's see. Of course, Mr. Yakub lived but 150 years, but his ideas continued in practice. He gave his people guidance in the form of literature, what they should do and how to do it, how to rule the black nation. He said to them, when you become unalike, you may return to the Holy Land and people from whom you were exiled. The Yakub made devils were really pale white with really blue eyes, which we think are the ugliest of colors for a human eye. They were called Caucasians, which means, according to some of the Arabian scholars, one whose evil effect is not confined to oneself alone, but affects others. This is according to Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? Out of his book, I'm reading out of The Message to the Black Man in America, all right? I'm on page 116 now. There was no good taught to them while on the island by teaching the nurse to kill the black baby and save the brown babies so as to graft the white out of it. By lying to the black mother of the baby, the lies was born into the very nature of the white baby, and murder for the black people also born in them, or made by nature a liar and murderer. And so, let's see. This pretty much is the whole context of the Yakub story as it relates from Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So when you hear, about the Yakub story, understand again, as we started, Elijah Muhammad clearly stated first that he received this directly from Allah. So when you are contesting or debating or hearing an argument or hearing sides and views, understand that you are arguing or debating over something that a man said he received directly, divinely. And still, these facts of these things mentioned in his demonstration can be contested by facts, by science, and be tried, right? Everything is up to be tried. However, there's many principles, like we stated some principles about the power of people. There is principle of the science of grafting. We know if you look at the the breeding of dogs, how breeds are grafted, even fruit, how fruit can be grafted, how you can get orange and a lemon, and you get a grapefruit. So the sciences are in there, and so these sciences all can be contested. So I'm just kind of wanted to point that out because it seemed like there was a lot of talk about it, but I know a lot of people really don't know the actual story. And so we have here the big head scientist, Mr. Yakub, the story, and so you can, take it and do as you may. But peace and love, family. I hope you're having a great day. Go forward, enjoy your day, and I'll see y'all on the next round. Peace and love.